Well, hello. Hello, everyone. Hello and welcome to the Westminster Town Hall Forum, where for 45 years it has been a joy to welcome voices of conscience to take matters of public life in an ethical reflection. I'm Sarah Wilhelm-Garber, the Executive Director, and it is so good to be here with all of you who are gathered in person, or if you're with us online. Thank you for taking out the time and space. Isn't it good to be together? Yeah, right? Wow. Well, again, if you haven't heard me say this, I'm impressed by your resiliency. You made it here. And again, just one reminder to cozy up to your neighbor if you don't feel cozy enough yet. It will keep you warmer. And it will ensure that more folks can join us in this space as they continue to come. Well, you're in for a real treat. Ann Reed, who is a Minnesota native. Isn't it a lovely thing when you're like, thank you, we all love each other, this is good. So Ann Reed, who many of you know, and some of you are going to get to know today, is a songwriter, a singer, and a guitarist who has been performing for more than 40 years with her rich, dark chocolate voice. I wish someone would say that about me. No one's going to. Storytelling from the human experience and songs that find a permanent place in your heart. What a beautiful thing. So today we're going to get to hear from her, and I invite you to open up your heart, because music is wonderful in the way that it does that. And if you enjoy the space here, I encourage you to follow her online, and you can also tune in on YouTube when she does concerts from somewhere in her home. So Ann Reed, everyone.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. This is wonderful to be here and an honor to be here. I was thinking about this whole subject of courage, and I thought, do I have any songs about courage? And then I realized that almost all songs are about courage, so there it is. So sad to hear you say you think the joy in days is done, over and done. So yeah, the news is bad, dark is the path, let's say it's some light when it seems there is none. I'm gonna sing in the middle of a great big crowd, gonna do a little dance, gonna live out loud, gonna play with the puppy, gonna ride my bike, make funny faces and love this life. For every hateful word, I'll say 10 loving verbs to mend this tattered flag of mine. Say, yeah, this ragged piece within and underneath threads, unbroken and bright. I'm gonna listen to the giggles of the kids next door, gonna give what I got, gonna play this chord, plant my garden, watch it grow and thrive, kneel in the dirt and love this life. That old Goliath, he's got 2 big feet. I ain't gonna let him step all over me. Now if you're looking down, you only see the ground and miss the colors of the sky. Say, yeah, you just might trip. If that's the worst of it, well, lift your head and feast your eyes, and glide through the water in a blue canoe, or stand in the glory of a big full moon. Laugh till you cry and treasure the time, weep at the beauty and love this life. Sing in the middle of a great big crowd, do a little dance, or live out loud, play with the puppy and ride your bike, make funny faces and love this life. Well, this next song is actually a song that I wrote during the Songs for Minnesota show. It's the sesquicentennial year for Minnesota, and it took me at least a year to say sesquicentennial. So, but this is the song I wrote for our state. From here I can see that the earth is round, blessed by the bones in the sacred ground. I can see where the rivers flow, they flow. I can touch the brilliant sky, the sun and the moon and the northern lights. Oh, the dancing stars, they feel so close. And I am here because of souls who walked before and called this home. Bowed their heads on the trail of tears, falling down, and now today they're resting here within this place where the earth is round. From here is the scent of seasons change, before the snow and after the rain, leaves releasing, waltzing with the wind. I hear the sound of magic, oh, the loons calling out, and my heart is full. Sounds of where I am and where I've been. And I am here because of souls who walked before and called this home. Bowed their heads on the trail of tears, falling down, and now today they're resting here within this place where the seasons change. Land holds the lakes, lakes reflect the sky. Sky holds our dreams, tumbles down in light. From here I can see that the earth is round, blessed by the bones in the sacred ground. I can see where the rivers flow. I can touch the brilliant sky, the sun, the moon, and the northern lights. Oh, the dancing stars, they feel so close. And I am here because of souls who walked before and called this home. Bowed their heads on the trail of tears, falling down, and now today they're resting here within this place where the earth is round, where the earth is round.
And now a song to honor some unsung heroes who are the gatekeepers of information, guarding the right to free access to knowledge and resources, actively advocating for critical thinking and intellectual freedom, helping people navigate the world of knowledge. They are audacious pioneers, creative rebels, and of course, I'm talking about librarians. Yes, I am, and particularly I'm honoring the memory of Luann Filipich, who was a librarian at the Dakota County Library. And Luann used to bring musicians down just to get people to come into the library and explore the library and listen to music. And so a lot of us have worked with Luann, and so I did a show down there where I was explaining that I usually get song titles wrong. For a very long time, I thought the Creedence Clearwater song, Bad Moon on the Rise, was Bathroom on the Right, which was not correct. I also had a time when I was singing in a duo where you had to do 4 hours of music a night in a bar, and you could not get out of there without playing Desperado at least twice. But the line was, see, this is before the internet where you could look up the lyrics. You had to listen to the radio and go, oh, is that what they're saying? So the line was, you've been out riding fences for so long now. And for a week, I was singing, you've been outright offensive so long now. So Luann told me about some things, because when people ask for books at the library, sometimes they get the titles wrong. And she was asked one time if she had Bonfire of the Vampires. There's no place quite like the library, slow-paced, content, yes, and I'm very sure, encouraging people to read. It's a gift by and large, though it might be perverted to charge those quite introverted the hard road, connecting the public to thousands of wonderful titles. I have a long list of chores, but it's time to open the doors, and I'll try to bring my informative best to the day. Oh my, she's coming towards me, eyes wide. I sense just before she arrives, I summon my quiet and calm as she asks, do you have a book? I think it was blue. Pretty sure it had pictures. The author was who? I forget. Do you have a book? It might have been thick. Was it Oprah's pick? Do you have a book? Yes, I am a librarian. No, my name is not Mariann. Oh gosh, that's a good one. I've never heard that before. I'm revived by questions inquiring minds. No, really, just take your time. May I suggest several books banned in 5 states? They're wonderful books. They're good for the soul. Some of them have pictures. It gives me such hope when you pull out a list, but then something's amiss. Questions come like this.
Do you have Shakespeare in English? The Gutenberg Bible on cassette? Do you have this book, How to Kill a Mockingbird? Oh, you. Do you have a book? Do you know who wrote Dante's Inferno? Do you have Funny Farm by Orwell? That book written by the bald guy with a beard. Just take a look. Do you have a book? Though I'd like to throw the book at you, I'll gently place it in your hands and say, oh, look, I found your book. I found your book. I found your book. Oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you for that, yes. This is a song that I wrote for the Women's Cancer Resource Center in Minneapolis. It is not there any longer, but I have so many people in my life who are living with or have gone due to cancer, but talk about courage. I am living in time. It's a rhythm I know. More and more I think life is all balance and hope. 'Cause it's not black or white. It's any shade of my choice. Coming fully alive as I give it my voice. Oh, it is time I will live out loud and open my eyes to the great divide. I'm walking my path, finding my way, and every step's a leap of faith. Every story's a thread in a weave that of ours. I don't know what's ahead, but I'm standing here now. There are moments I fly, days when I weep. Sometimes I close my eyes and remember to breathe. Oh, it is time I will live out loud and open my eyes to the great divide. I'm walking my steps, finding my way, and every path's a leap of faith. I walk on a fluid road, ever changing where it goes.
trusting my heart that strength will appear, oh, growing there in the dark. Oh, it is time I will live out loud and open my eyes to the great divide. I'm walking my path, finding my way, and every step's a leap of faith. Well, this is a song that, I know it's a little early in the day to start singing, but this is folk music, people. So I wrote this song mainly about, I was thinking about when I was growing up and going to high school and how hard that was. This is for all the people who are square pegs and all the people who have been marginalized. And so here's your part. This is the chorus. I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm out walking. I'm out walking in the same sunlight as you. Walking in the same sunlight as you. I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm out walking in the same sunlight as you. But they were thinking, what are we to do with you? They dressed me up, they dressed me down. A teacher told me in the hallway after school, well, you're so square and the world's so round. I'd like to tell her I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm out walking in the same sunlight as you. Unattractive, weird, a little off, just not okay. Too much yourself, you can't come in. I bump and roll along, find others on the way. I recognize my kith and kin, and then I sing out, I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm out walking in the same sunlight as you. I sing it out for no one else. Sing it loud, convince myself I'm all right. A miracle, I'm even standing here today. A firm foundation neath my shoes. Remember words the bard had scribbled in his play. To thine own self, yeah, you be true. And then we all sing, I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm out walking in the same sunlight as you. Thank you. Thank you. I've got one more song here, and this is a song, again, for some reason I run into this word sesquicentennial way too much. This was written for First Universalist Unitarian Church in Minneapolis for their sesquicentennial year, and again, I had to learn how to say it again, but yeah, so these songs just keep coming back to make sense. That's what happens. But thank you for your attention, and again, thank you to Westminster for asking me to be here today. It's a long road we've set our feet upon. A long road we've set our feet upon. And with loving hearts we walk on. Loving hearts walk on. We will walk on. We will walk on. Bridges are built with open hands. Bridges are built with open hands. And we begin to heal the world. We begin to heal the world. We will heal the world. We will heal the world. We will heal the world. When the sun shines through all of us, there on the road will be a rainbow in front of us. Wherever we go, wherever we go. Take a single flame and pass it on. Take a single flame and pass it on. And it's enough to light the way. It's enough to light the way. We will light the way. We will light the way. We will light the way. When the sun shines through all of us, there on the road will be a rainbow in front of us. Wherever we go, wherever we go. All the souls who came before are standing here. All the souls who came before are standing here. You can hear them whisper low. You can hear them whisper low. We will walk with you. We will walk with you. We will light the way. We will light the way. We will heal the world. We will heal the world. We will walk on. We will walk on. We will walk on. We will walk on.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much, Anne. Anne Reed, everyone, right? Wow. Wow. Well, hello. Hello and greetings. Welcome to the Westminster Town Hall Forum. Whether you are here with us in the space, whether you are just down the hall, we say hello and thank you for being with us, or whether you are somewhere throughout the country or world watching our live stream, thank you. Being together, remembering that we aren't in this work of life alone is vital. So thank you for saying yes to bring yourself, your bodies, your heart, your beings, your passions, your dreams together to this space where for 45 years we have welcomed voices of conscience to speak on matters of ethics and public life. It was 45 years ago in September of 1980. 1980, folks. That Archibald Cox, who was the special prosecutor in the Watergate trial, which you may have heard about, a little scandal back in the day. No scandals today. Archibald Cox was here, welcomed under the leadership and the vision not only of this church, Westminster Presbyterian, but the Nymans, who envisioned a public lecture series. This space since then has welcomed not only all of you, whether you are new or you have been here for 45 years, we have come together to hear from people such as Desmond Tutu, Thomas Friedman, Maya Angelou, who began by singing, go back and find that in the archives, Barbara Brown Taylor, David Brooks, Brian Stevenson. And while the issues have changed, and some seem like they've not changed at all, really, right? At the core, the forum has retained the sense that ethics matter, right? Ethics matter. Well, as an ethics nerd, I'm especially glad you're so happy about that. I'm Sarah Wilhelm Garbage, the Executive Director of the Town Hall Forum, and well, thank you. That person might be related to me. And it's an honor to steward this beautiful legacy. And this fall, we have been considering ethics, conscience, and the public square. And what does that look like? And we're grateful if you've not been with us yet this fall, you can learn more about those forums on our website or on our YouTube page. And our forum topic today is going to feature someone that I believe some of you have heard of before, the Right Reverend Mariann Budde. Yes. On the topic, Courage is Contagious. Now, I'm not going to give a full introduction because we're going to have one in a minute, so just hold for that. But I do want to be sure to thank our sponsors who are here with us, MinnPost and Sahan Journal. You can read more about their fabulous work in the program for today, along with our broadcast partner, Minnesota Public Radio. Yes, yay, NPR. We are also incredibly grateful for the support of the Minneapolis Foundation in making possible today's forum, so thank you for that. And also, speaking of ethics, if you don't know this or you haven't realized, you didn't pay to be here today, right? I mean, you did for parking, sorry. But this has long been a value of ours, that the forum is a space that is free and open to the public because we believe that the common good and that the public space is for all of us. And so welcome to the forum, and thank you to our donors. There's an insert, whether you give $5 or $5,000 or $50, or you want to give $50, we'll take it. That contribution makes possible the forum, and thank you for being here, and thank you for your support. I also want to thank our volunteers who make today possible. Thank you for caring and for showing up, and thank you to each of you for being here as well. I just want to give you a couple logistics of what's going to happen. You're not here to hear from me, so let me tell you what comes next. What's going to happen throughout this time is you're going to hear from Mariann, the Right Reverend Mariann Edgar Budde, and then we're going to have some space where you get to bring your own wonders and curiosities and questions to bear as we continue that conversation. So if you're here with us in the space, you received a note card in your program, at any point write out a question, and before we go to that second half of our time together, ushers will come by to collect your questions or wonders or conversations, and then we will have that between down here as a moderated conversation. If you're with us online, please put those questions or wonders into the chat, and those will also be shared with those who are sorting our questions to bring to our moderator. And speaking of our moderator, I am thrilled because we get to welcome two incredibly powerful leaders of faith and spirituality. Not only the Right Reverend Mariann Edgar Budde, but also the newly installed Senior Minister of Westminster Presbyterian Church, the Reverend Dr. Jessica Patchett. So welcome. We're so thrilled. Yeah, looking forward to that. And with that, I just want to welcome up a person who, because of a personal relationship, made possible your saying yes to be here today. Some of you may have met him before, former Minneapolis mayor and president of the Minneapolis Foundation, R.T. Rybak, to introduce our speaker.
You should all have the pleasure of hugging a bishop, especially one as cool as that. When asked to give 1 to 2 minutes about what Mariann means to this community, I thought back to a number of years ago when a person unknown to this community walked into a little church in Linden Hills of the Red Door, St. John's. And it was my childhood parish, and one of those first parishioners was my sister, Georgianne, who came to me and said, "Oh my God, you have to go back to St. John's. We have the most incredible person there who's now leading it," and I rolled my eyes. It was the church that so many of us, when we have a religious experience early, leave it and feel that it's not working anymore. And I really honestly stepped away from my faith, and that was not a very big part of my life at that moment. But then I went and I heard Mariann for the first time, and I was hooked. And when we hear about courage, it was the courage that I got listening to her that gave me the courage to step up and try to realize my own personal dream, to stick my neck out and run for mayor. And I want you to know that when you saw me standing out at a bridge collapse, at a mass murder, at a kid's murder in the middle of the night, standing behind me every moment were the words of Mariann that every Sunday refilled my deeply depleted emotional vessel. And I am not alone. When I watched what happened with that congregation, sitting behind us, 2 women raising a little child, wondering whether they were welcome in this community or not, I could go on with what happened in that small congregation. And not only was she powerful in that room, but the power she brought to this community when incidents like that bridge happened, and she brought together interfaith leadership and worked with interfaith leaders on issues on housing and so many others. We recognize that all those things the rest of the world is coming to learn about Mariann right now, we knew right here. So I want people to understand what she has done in this community, but I would also like Mariann to understand what she didn't realize is we slipped a little invisible bungee cord on her feet, because thank God, and I mean that literally, that she is in the spot she is in right now. There will be a moment where we don't need her as much there, but we're getting you back, and we need it. So, ladies and gentlemen, the remarkable, wonderful, deeply moral, inspirational Mariann Budde.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm still thinking about that bungee cord. Many thanks to RT and to everyone who helped make this day possible. Being here with you means more than I can say. and preparing to stand here, I kept thinking of all the Westminster town hall forums that I attended sitting where you are, or listening to on the radio during my years as the priest of St. John's in Minneapolis. And, few institutions have the resources to host such events. And I want to say thank you to Westminster on behalf of all of the people and the leaders of under-resourced communities that benefit from the generosity and the vision and the determination to gather people, all of us together, to ponder important issues and ideas. It is a priceless gift, and I wonder if you'll join me in thanking leaders past and present of Westminster. One particular forum stands out in my memory. It was back in 2003. And the late Peter Gomes, ethics professor and chaplain at Harvard University, gave a lecture based on his book, his latest book, which is entitled The Good Life. And he began by telling us about the sermon he preached every year to Harvard's incoming students, which he called, "How Are You Going to Live After the Fall?" And he said, innocent pagans that most of them are, they assume I'm asking them what their plans are after September. But I'm not. I'm asking them what they're going to do after their first dreams fall from the sky. What are you going to do, I ask them, when you don't get the job, when you don't get the girl or the boy, when you are brushed aside or hurt, when your children rise up to treat you as poorly as you are treating your parents? What are you going to do? The good life that you rightly seek must serve you in your most difficult, desperately hard times. It must help you cope in your moments of doubt and despair. If what you live by does not serve you then, it is no good for you, even in the good times. So my topic this morning is courage, which I will come to by way of a brief excursion through the terrain of another virtue, that of hope. Because that's the question I'm most often asked now in public settings. Bishop, what gives you hope? Which is a fair question, given all that we're facing now. And like our understanding of what constitutes a good life, our understanding of hope is critically important in the times we're in. At its most basic level, hope is our desire for certain outcomes or possibilities to be realized in the future. And we're understandably disappointed when those hopes don't come to pass. If what we hoped for wasn't that big a deal, the disappointment is short-lived. But when what we long for really matters to us, to people that we love, to the fate of our communities, the disappointment is devastating. We speak of losing hope, of having our hopes dashed, and there's no getting around the pain of that. And that's precisely when we need to tap deeper wells in search of a more resilient hope that enables us to persevere in the face of disappointment and prolonged adversity. This hope, in the words of the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu, is what enables us to see glimpses of light amid the darkness, or when we see no light at all, to trust that somewhere light still exists. This hope doesn't deny difficulty or danger. It does not minimize disappointment or loss, but it is not stopped by any of those things. The political dissident, poet, president of the Czech Republic, Václav Havel, he described this deeper hope as as an orientation of the spirit, an orientation of the heart. It transcends the world that is immediately experienced and is anchored somewhere beyond the horizons. And the great naturalist, environmental advocate Jane Goodall, she described this hope as humanity's survival trait. Because without it, she said, we perish. For those who lose hope grow apathetic and do nothing. Those who live and act from this deeper hope in the hardest times are the very ones who help create the conditions in which the things that we all long for and as yet cannot see indeed can come to pass. So there's a dimension to hope that is, to this kind of hope, that is akin to a spiritual practice, an intentional commitment to be a hope bearer through thick and thin. And this practice of hope has become increasingly important to me as I get older, because Lord knows the last thing the generations coming up behind those of us who are elders now need is our cynicism and our despair. They don't need our finely tuned rage. They don't need our snarky comments. They really don't. What they need is wind in their sails. They need us to hold fast to all that is good. They need us to provide places of respite and encouragement. They need us to write checks, to give sacrificially of our time and resources, and to keep the light of faith burning, just as our spiritual forebears did for us. For me, there's also a dimension of resistance to this practice of hope. It's a choice to make every single day, to live in hope no matter what, and to stand firm to the best of my ability. And I can't do this every day, but to the best of my ability to stand firm when the dominoes around me are falling. Now, we can't keep this deeper hope alive on our own, or at least I can't. And thankfully, we don't have to. For it comes to us. It comes to us. As the question itself, what gives you hope, suggests, it comes to us as a gift. Now, my interpretive lens is theological, that the giver of this deeper hope is the mystery we call God. But you don't need to be a person of faith to experience the gift, which in my mind is a mark of the giver's generosity. This gift can rise inexplicably from within. It can come through the daily blessings we can all too easily overlook, and most consistently and powerfully, it comes to us through the example of other people who simply refuse to succumb to cynicism and despair. Which brings me to the topic of courage and the simple observation that courage is contagious, which is to say, it's like hope. It's mysterious and it's communal. It passes through and among us like electricity, helping us to accomplish, as the Apostle Paul once wrote, helping us to accomplish far more than we could ask for or imagine. Courage, like hope, is also innate. It's in us. It's a God-given attribute to our species, and it enables us to take small, brave steps throughout life, and sometimes even to take an enormous leap. It's a capacity we can cultivate and strengthen through practice. And as with all attributes and skills that grow stronger with practice, we draw strength and inspiration from one another. I once heard a radio interview with one of my heroes, the novelist and essayist Marilynn Robinson. And the journalist asked her, what gives her hope? And as she responded, it was immediately apparent in her tone of voice and manner of speaking that this was not a woman easily shaken, right? And she said, "I often remind people that we are a peculiar species with a long history of doing injury to ourselves and to one another. But just as there was no reason to throw up our hands during the 30 Years' War, I don't see any reason to do so now." Now, the reference to the 30 Years' War took me by surprise. But her point was, okay, if you're looking for reasons to give up on humankind, there was ample justification for doing so long before the atrocities of our time. But equally true, and more important, if you are looking for something to give you hope, there is always evidence of hope. And she was unequivocal in this. Our hope, she said, lies, as it always has, in the example of other people throughout history and in our time who, inspired by God's grace, refuse to give up on what is best in us. And sometimes, to our absolute astonishment, we are the ones carrying hope for another, even if we don't feel it ourselves. It happens. And so what is it, do you suppose, about someone else's courage that inspires you and me to be brave? I think it touches something deep within us, because in that moment, they embody what we know to be true or what we hope for, and they show us by their example that it's possible to live according to that truth. As I was preparing for the sermon I preached, you may have heard of it. But hear me. As I was preparing, I read about a group of Roman Catholic bishops in California who had taken a strong stand in support of migrants in their communities, right? And their courage to say what I knew, what we all knew to be true, that the vast majority of migrants and refugees and immigrants are not dangerous criminals, but are active, contributing members of our society, their courage inspired me. And really, that's so basic a sermon, not unlike what I dare say is preached from this pulpit and countless others every Sunday, that such a sermon would be a source of hope for many, says far less about it than where we are as a nation. I'm not minimizing it, but this I know, deep in my bones, that the most important ways courage is learned, practiced, and passed along doesn't necessarily make headlines and news cycles. A sermon or a speech is not consequential on its own. It is only decisive to the extent it is linked to lives of integrity, faithfulness, and sacrificial love, and part of communities and movements that are dedicated to higher purpose. That's why you're here. Now, you do need to know that I'm inclined to accept any invitation to speak if it brings me back to Minnesota. But the primary reason I accepted this one was to say thank you to the people and the communities that taught me so much about courage here. So I'm going to start close in with my family. My husband, Paul, and I raised our sons as Minnesotans. And everyone who is a parent knows that raising children is a master class in courage in which we are the students. Because from infancy through adolescence and beyond, we watch our children take steps into the unknown, attempt things they have never done before, make mistakes and learn from them, and persevere toward horizons that only they can see. And I watched our sons do that here. And I watched them gravitate toward people who gave them courage and hope some of whom are sitting in this church. Moreover, serving a Minneapolis congregation for 18 years, I was privileged to witness the courage of people every day who quietly faced enormous challenges, who walked resolutely toward goals that took them years to accomplish, who stepped up at crucible moments that set our small community on a particular path. As one example, I will never forget the day when the leaders and I called for an all-parish meeting to share the difficult news that we had fallen considerably short of our financial goals for what was an ambitious and controversial renovation of our building. This particular project, from beginning to end, had been difficult. And as a congregation, we were not of one mind. And the fact that we had fallen short seemed to vindicate those who thought the whole thing was a risky, misguided enterprise. And the leaders who championed the project were deeply disappointed, and they were humbled. And they came to the meeting prepared with a scaled-back version of our proposal that fell far short of what they had originally envisioned. And as the spiritual leader of the community, I really didn't know what to do or say. I didn't want our sense of who we were to rise or fall on the outcome of a building project. And at the same time, I knew that it symbolized something far bigger than that. It was how we envisioned our future ministry in that neighborhood. And I don't remember how the conversation began, but at some point, a young woman stood up with her wife at the time, raising 2 sons in our church, and she spoke about how much the church meant to her and her family, how important our witness was to the wider community. And then she said, "Look, I don't have a lot of money, but I'm doubling my pledge right now, and I challenge everyone here to do the same." And then miraculously, one of the largest critics of the whole process stood up and clapped and said he was prepared to do the same. And I watched in absolute awe as the mood in the sanctuary changed, as more people raised their voices in similar expressions of support, right? It was like electricity. And the project was completed as originally planned, in no small measure to how her courage spread among us all. Now here's another example, this time from a public leader. Way back in the 1990s and 2000s, I am old. The defining issue in the Episcopal Church and in the country at large was the struggle for full inclusion of LGBT plus persons and their sacramental and civil rights, including the right to marry. And for years, the most effective strategy across the country for those who opposed same-gender marriage was to pass an amendment to state constitutions that specifically defined marriage as between a man and a woman. And the prevailing wisdom in Minnesota in those years was that if an amendment like that was put to a public vote, it would pass. That is, that the majority of Minnesotans opposed same-gender marriage at the time. And for a period of time, the only body that kept such a resolution off statewide ballots was the Minnesota State Senate. And I don't recall the year, but I remember standing in the Capitol Rotunda with a gathering of those in favor of same-gender marriage, which at the time felt like a far-off dream, and the fear of a constitutional amendment against it far more likely. And at that rally, Senator Scott Dibble rose to speak. And he said something to the effect of, "Look, we need to hold steady for about 5 more years. We need 5 more years for the tide to turn. It's going to turn. I'm sure of it. So we can't give up. We just have to hold steady." And as he spoke, I just knew in my bones that he was right. And I don't know if it was exactly 5 years later, but when the so-called marriage amendment was on the state ballot in 2012, to enshrine marriage for heterosexual couples in Minnesota, it failed. The first time in the country, it failed. And it failed because people like you talked to your neighbors and friends and made public service announcements and communicated a message of love and the celebration of diversity rather than the fear of it. And it paved the way for legislation to legalize same-gender marriage in the state. You don't need me to tell you that courage is contagious. So I think a lot about Senator Dibble's words now and about the importance of holding steady. You also don't need me to remind you of how much is being dismantled and destroyed in our country right now. But I can tell you that having a front row seat to the chaos and the harm being done with such reckless glee in Washington is heartbreaking. I'm certainly capable of being angry about what's happening, but I've realized that anger is just a form of self-protection to help me cope with the overwhelming sorrow. And it's really difficult to listen or watch the news. Every day brings a shock of something that some of us didn't even think was possible. And more I realize that resistance to this political and social tsunami requires all the courage and hope that we can muster, and that we need each other. And we need to lift up and learn from those whose quietly heroic efforts are protecting as many people as possible and preserving as much as possible that we will need to rebuild this country when the tide turns. The tide will turn, but not through wishful thinking. It will turn through the dogged efforts of those who will hold steady and do all that we can now. Our hope lies, as it always has, in the dogged determination and courage of people like you and like me who, inspired by grace, refuse to give up on what is best in us. I'd like to leave you with a final quote from the past. Another town hall forum speaker from about 20 years ago, the Quaker author and educator Parker Palmer, right? And he said this, "You can learn a lot about people by figuring out who they mean when they say the word we." That was in 2002, when we were dealing with the rise of anti-Muslim sentiment in the aftermath of 9/11. And he was encouraging us to keep company with strangers, to welcome strangers, and to celebrate their presence in our community. And I simply want to say what you all know, that we are capable as a people to be the most expansive country in the world and the most closed in and narrow, right? We have both of those strains in our history and in our culture. And looking back, we are never proud of the moments when we draw the circle tight. We're never proud of the people we become and the behaviors that we justify and the things that we say when the circle is drawn tight, so that we become small and protected. And we're always better people. We're a better nation with an expansive we that embraces the diversity and the beauty of all humankind. So I leave you simply again with a word of thanks. A humble reminder to hold steady to what you know to be true, to keep being those who refuse to give up on the best of us, to refuse to meet contempt with contempt, but to treat everyone as best you can according to their God-given dignity. And when you lose hope, because we all do, I do, that's when we need to dig deep and look around and remember that the courage we need flows through and among us. It is mysterious, it is communal, it is contagious. There's always someone, by the grace of God, who is still standing. Look for them. Look for your beacons of hope. And then pray for the grace to be among them. Thank you so much.
As you can tell, we are so deeply grateful for you nourishing the deepest parts of us today. I think it goes without saying that in a time like this, our souls need nourishment. And you have given us that today. Thank you, Bishop. Now it's time to talk. I hope that you've been writing down your questions, and I'll invite the ushers to start moving through the audience and congregation that we might gather them, and I will help represent them to the bishop for you, and we'll have a good conversation. But I want to kick it off with a question that takes this soaring, soulful nourishment you've given us and makes it a bit practical for us today. Today in the Twin Cities, a lot of us are trying to muster our courage in the wake of Trump's dehumanizing comments about our Somali and East African neighbors. We face heightened threats of ICE action in our communities, and you have spoken today of the power that we have to humanize each other and to rehumanize each other. So as one who knows and loves these cities, help us know how to summon and direct our courage a bit today. Easy question to start.
First, let me say how horrifying it was to hear the words. And they are consistent with other statements of our president now. And Washington, D.C. was a city that was selected to be a place of the kind of mass deportation rates that are now spreading across cities in the wider country. It just takes my breath away how horrific that is. But I do know that actions large and small of solidarity and friendship and decency and kindness go a very long way. It's also quite sobering to realize that when the deportations happen, there's actually very little we can do. And so in some ways, a lot of the work is preparation beforehand and then advocacy like crazy afterwards. But we are living in a very, very, very difficult moment. The other thing I will say, and maybe this is something that we can hope for, is that sometimes when the president or someone really crosses an egregious line, somebody close to that circle pulls him back. And I'm seeing some of that in the Republicans here in Minnesota. And so, there is something to that, but never to minimize the impact of what it must be like for your neighbors and mine to be on the receiving end of such cruelty.
I really appreciate that perspective as someone who can see in some spaces in our public life where we can't. One of the people in this forum have asked a question about how did we come to a place in our society where we have to say something like ethics matter, or that we have to hear you in a sermon like you offered on Inauguration Day define unity as basic things like humanizing each other, acting in humility, being honest, telling the truth. And how do we find our way out of this? How do we change the culture together? These folks have easy questions.
Well, I suspect that the questioner knows some of the answer already. We didn't get here in a day. There are reasons why we're here, and they're many and complicated, some of which we have contributed to in ways that we don't really fully understand, some of which have been carefully orchestrated by forces and people that stand to benefit financially and politically by keeping us as polarized and as at each other's throats as possible, right? Some of it is the inevitable result of the intense economic disparity that we experience in our country and around the world. I mean, there are reasons for this, and they're not going to be solved with a magic wand. But there are also times when whole societies go crazy for a while, and then something brings them back. And the bringing back doesn't happen quickly. In retrospect, it might seem like it was inevitable, but usually societies and communities come back when few people begin to offer a counter narrative that begins to sound compelling. And so we actually have to have a counter narrative that is compelling. We can't simply be against things. We have to be for things. We have to be for people. And this may be the hardest, we actually have to forgive people and seek to understand, because one of the things I had to say when I was traveling in the aftermath of the election, I had to remind people around in other parts of the world that the majority of the voting Americans asked for this, right? This wasn't like something that was done to us without our participation. And so we have to understand some things about who we are and be curious enough to see where there might be some inroads to present a more humanized and more compassionate, ethical narrative of who we are.
You've talked in several settings about the culture of contempt that we live in, and that kind of culture exists across the political and religious spectrum by people in all parts and places in our society. You've also talked about an ethic that is fairly unique to the Christian tradition in enemy love. So we're not just called to love our neighbors and love the people we like, but love our enemies. Mm-hmm. So how can we think about these things together? What's the value of an ethic of enemy love in a culture of contempt?
I do remember C.S. Lewis saying something like, if you're going to work on forgiveness, best not to start with the Gestapo. But what he was saying was, I know, it's a great line, and he said it in the aftermath of World War II, right? I mean, we can laugh in some ways because the memory of the Gestapo is a bit ancient, but for him it was like yesterday. And I think what he was trying to say is that there are dimensions of our capacity for forgiveness that we have to work at, right? We have to move up some scales of forgiveness. We have to practice forgiveness. And in a similar way, all the people who are talking about this culture of contempt that we're in, the antidote to contempt is dignity. There is no other antidote to contempt but dignity. And so a determination to be a person who speaks with dignity and honors the dignity of every other person speaking, particularly those with whom you disagree, is a compelling life practice. And I encourage you all just to simply type in your search engines, if you haven't already, expose yourself to the Dignity Index, which gives you a scale from 1 to 8 of speech. The number 1 on the scale being the lowest forms of contempt, number 8 on the scale being the highest forms. Enemy love would fall in the highest forms of dignity. And the turning points are actually between levels 4 and 5, where most of us live most of our lives, where we are right on the edge of speaking with dignity or contempt. And then where do we go up or do we go down? Right? And so it's a practice and a commitment.
One of the members of our audience has asked us about the role of religion in a democratic society. And so, I think about this conversation. We are drawing on a tradition that we share and offering something from it to this group today. But there are other people who've asked you in other settings, too, about the places where religion becomes pretty dangerous in democratic society in forms like Christian nationalism. So what's a healthy role of religion in a democratic society?
Religion is represented across the spectrum of every society. It's found in every point of view, every political persuasion, every demographic you can think of. It shows up in one way or another. And most of the time, we wrap our religious beliefs around already established assumptions of the world, right? And we can't help it. We filter, and I remember one pastor, a conservative pastor, saying, I have my people for an hour a week, Fox News has them 24/7, right? So which worldview do you think is going to have dominance in that? And we could say the same for those of us who listen to other sources of news and imagine that our Christianity or whatever faith we have agrees with every political opinion we have, right? We're not that much different. But to allow your faith in the public arena to inform how you act as a citizen, I would say that the litmus test is the common good. If we are bringing our religion to protect our religion or to protect ourselves, we are dangerous to our democratic society. If we bring our religious impulses to serve the common good, and to see where there is alignment between the aspirational values of our faith and the aspirational values of a democratic society, we are furthering the good in our wider world. But it's a humbler approach, and it isn't about the faith so much as it is about the people, the public, the common good.
There are several people who wonder about that kind of disposition in very interpersonal settings. They want to be in conversation with people who have different perspectives than they have, but wonder how to do that in a way that is productive. And a couple of people mentioned particularly when one of us might perceive another believes in things that simply aren't true. Or that are misconceptions or fake news, if you will. So how do we engage each other in this spirit interpersonally around dining room tables and in living rooms?
I think it was Brian Stevenson who said that every one of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done. And so we're probably more than the stupidest belief we've ever held, right? And maybe that's true for all of us, right? So maybe, first of all, by starting with genuine curiosity and compassion and an ability to see beyond whatever one thing, even if it's a heinous thing for you, right? Something really heinous, to just be curious enough. Now, I'm not talking about anyone whose safety is being compromised or whose dignity is being constantly trampled on. That's a whole other issue. But if you have some space for generosity in your being, to be in relationship. One of the dangers we're in right now is that, David Finch says we're living in a culture of hatred, red and blue. The hatred between red and blue is so intense now that we can't imagine having a conversation, some of us, with people who see the world differently. And that's unfortunate, because if we don't have those conversations, we're never going to get to the kind of nuance and understanding that we need to be a democratic society, to be families, right? So I would say you have to gauge your own level of ability. If your only agenda is to change somebody's mind, well, good luck with that. I've tried, believe me. Some in my family would say I'm still trying, but so far, it's pretty futile. But if I can be curious, tell me more. Or talk about something else and find common ground somewhere. And then maybe the dissonance of the fact that even though you, in their opinion, hold absolutely ridiculous beliefs, you're a pretty decent human being. And if something terrible were to happen and you could both help each other out, you would do that. And some other bridge may be built upon which a future good might come.
Several people ask about the people you're looking to right now, people who are heroes, who inspire you, who model these things in the public sphere or maybe the private sphere. Who are beacons of hope for you right now?
So many. Like what others have said, there are, as you said earlier today when we were talking to a smaller group, there are most of the people who inspire me are not public luminaries. They are the people in my inner world who I get to see close up and whom I've watched make extraordinarily brave and loving choices at great sacrifice to themselves with no fanfare at all. So they are my personal heroes. The people who I am drawn to now in the public arena are people who are calling us to not necessarily to find common ground, but to find higher ground, to find the ways that we can look past or look through and find language and aspiration that will allow us to heal. I'm just drawn to them. I mean, it's not the only answer. I know we have to do all sorts of things right now, but I find myself nourished by those voices, and I want to sound more like them. Right? I want to sound like them. I don't want to fall prey to my own cycles of sadness and despair.
I think you sound very much like them when you write in your book and when you speak to us. And one of the ways in which I found that to be so true in your book is when you're very vulnerable with us. That, when you look out and you look for people who are beacons of hope, on the external perspective, we might think, well, there's a recipe for courage here. It's, sort of perfect childhood, perfect life, perfect job, perfect health, and all feels good, so I'm going to act courageously. And you debunk that myth. You say, I don't wake up every day feeling great. I carry childhood trauma. I am not perfect and have failed in my life, and yet God has given me gifts of courage and hope. So what really is sort of the recipe of courage, or what well do we go to? You've spoken a little bit about that, but I would love for you to talk a little bit more about that vulnerability and why it matters in the recipe of courage.
The most consequential, courageous acts, I think, are the ones we make after a significant failure, mistake, blunder, disappointment. When we have to pick ourselves up, we have to make amends, restitution, and start again. So I wanted, one of the reasons I was so happy to write that book is I wanted to write about that. I wanted to write about letdown and disappointment and getting back up. And also, the more public a person becomes, your mistakes are there for the whole world to see, right? There's just no hiding. I mean, my family knew about them all along, but to have them like writ large, and so there's something really humbling about needing to own them, and to learn from them, and to receive mercy and forgiveness from other people, because it makes it easier. Just as Jesus said, it's true. If you receive it, it's actually easier to offer forgiveness and mercy. So to know yourself as someone on the receiving end of mercy makes it possible to say, oh yeah, you need mercy now. And I am so happy that I am in a place where I can release you from that burden.
I think there's so much to that. And when we as a culture talk about courage, different people mean different things by that word. I have often heard a lot of people talk about courage as the ability to say something really hard, really harshly in a way that almost vanquishes our enemies, if you will. But you're talking about courage that comes from a place of deep vulnerability, of understanding our own need for mercy and then ability to extend it. That, to me, sounds more like the root of the word courage when we think about our hearts and our ability and the gift that it is to be human and to be affected by other people. And so I wonder if you have maybe a last word for us along those lines about how we can continue to grow as people of courage, to keep open hearts in an environment like this where it would be so much easier to guard them and to try to keep them safe from the violence and the trauma that we see. How do we keep open hearts and therefore grow in courage?
Speaking for myself, imperfectly, that it's not something that is easily done. One of the people that I speak to for spiritual counsel will often ask me about a situation I'm struggling with. How is God inviting your heart to grow larger? And I think about that image a lot with my life. Like, how can we grow large enough inside to hold whatever it is that we're holding and not be completely overwhelmed by it? And so in terms of courage, to walk into my favorite definition is Eleanor Roosevelt's, which is to do the very thing you think you cannot do. Right? To do the very thing you think you cannot do, and maybe you cannot do. In fact, you try it, and in fact, you can't do it. But then you try again, and you try again, and you may never do it, but you learn so much in the failing, right? And that is part of the courageous path. And it allows for it to be, for all of us. It's not just for the brave people. It's for all of us, because we're learning. We're learning how to do this, and we're growing as a result. And if our hearts aren't larger this time next year than they are now, right, then we're not growing. And that is the quest, the life, for those of us who are Christian, to become more Christ-like as we grow, and then have more that the Spirit can work with as we are striving to do our imperfect best to bring the heaven that God wants on this earth, right? So thank you. Keep going. Hold steady. Thank you.
Thank you. Indeed. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Courage is contagious. Courage is contagious. And I, like many of you, remember a few months ago in January when I heard a sermon from a minister that I didn't know before. And I sat there watching it on my screen, and I thought, I want to be a leader of courage too. So here's to all of us, to dig into our hearts together, to continue the conversation, because ethics matter, and we are people who live in just such a way. So thank you for being here today. Thank you again to the Right Reverend Mariann Edgar Budde for being here with us. Woo. Thank you to the Reverend Dr. Jessica Patchett and Westminster Presbyterian Church for hosting this space for 45 years, and thank you to all of you for being here. You can join us in continuing the conversation if you're here gathered in person. In the lobby, we have some ways that you can connect with folks who are doing good, courage things in the world. There's some people here today from Vote Common Good, from You can hype whoever you want here. Prism, who is out there with us. Thank you, Prism. Christians Against Christian Nationalism. I think that should get a few whoops too. And the Sahan Journal is with us. And then you are all here. There are breads and spreads. Continue the conversation together. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, we'll be back in the spring. Our spring theme is going to be ethics still matter. Still matter. So join us. Thank you, everyone.